On behalf of everyone at MWV, we are truly pleased to be helping to kick off this great conference. Thank you for being here, and thank you for inviting us to be part of it. It strikes me that if you look across the universe of sustainability, there are people and organizations who like to talk about it, and others who like to do something about it. And certainly MWV would like to count ourselves as being someone who does something about it, as I know all of you and all of your companies do. Having said that, I'm not much for the talkers, so I'm going to limit my remarks this morning and really want to quickly turn it over to the other folks from MWV who are truly doing something about sustainability. I would also point out, and as you've seen already heard this morning, there are a lot of doers here in Richmond and in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Together, we are truly making Virginia a great place to live. And it's nice to see that you can be a leader in sustainability and still be ranked as one of the best states for business. So from MWV's perspective, we think that is a very critical part of what the efforts of the Chamber and others bring to the Commonwealth. I would also certainly point out that VCU is also a leader in sustainability. They're doing many of the things from saving energy to making the campus bike friendly, and they've done a great job bringing this conference together. It is the largest of its kind in the state, I believe. I think that's true. The Chamber is also a doer, and many thanks to Barry and his team for their leadership in recognizing that sustainability is so important to our future, competitiveness and quality of life, not just here in Virginia, but across the globe. At MWV, we would like to count ourselves among the doers as well. If you're not familiar with our company, we have a long history in Virginia. Our corporate offices are here in Richmond, and we have a large paperboard mill in Covington, Virginia, which is on the western side of the state. We make packaging for consumer products, things like multi-packs for canned soda, 6-packs for bottled beer. I'm sure you're all familiar with our product in that respect. Trigger sprayers for room freshener, pumps for perfume, and boxes for frozen pizza, amongst many other products. We also have a smaller specialty chemicals business that uses waste material from the paper making process and turns it into useful and marketable chemicals, including many that have sustainability characteristics themselves. As a large manufacturer, one that makes packaging and chemicals, we know that our business has an impact on the environment, not to mention all the resources which have been entrusted to our care, such as our shareholders' capital, employees' well-being, customers' trust, and natural resources, such as forest and water. We are acutely aware of our responsibility to steward these resources and to assure that our actions today will have a positive impact on future generations. In order to accomplish these goals, we have basically two elements to our sustainability strategy. First, we're running our company to be efficient, effective, and successful for the very long term. That means we look at everything from our manufacturing operations to our employee safety to our financial performance, with always keeping an eye toward making decisions every day that make our enterprise more sustainable. Second, we're helping our customers do the same thing. We're helping them make their brand stronger and bring their sustainability stories to life through packaging. We have set some very aggressive targets to measure our progress, and as the person responsible for ensuring that we reach those targets, I can assure you that we don't make much progress by talking about what to do. We make progress by doing. A good example is the new biomass boiler we've installed at the Covington paperboard facility I mentioned a moment ago. If you haven't been there or driven by on your way to the homestead, let me tell you this is an enormous manufacturing facility. The new boiler we recently invested in is 181 feet tall, and the entire complex covers an area of over 12 acres. So that is just one small segment of that manufacturing facility. It burns tree bark and other wood waste and turns it into energy, lots of energy. Take a drink here. The mill will be energy self-sufficient when the boiler is operating at full capacity, and the environmental benefits are huge, including a 40% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions compared to the coal boilers that we were previously using. As I mentioned, we're also actively engaged with customers to bring their sustainability stories to life. As a recent example, we just joined with Carlsberg, the European beer brand, in a partnership to develop the next generation of resource-efficient packaging in the beverage industry. We will be using the cradle-to-grave or cradle-to-cradle design framework to further optimize packaging for recycling and reuse. In the process, we expect to help Carlsberg distinguish their products as both high quality and sustainable. In fact, there are a number of examples like this one in which MWV has products, services, and solutions that improves people's lives and improves the world around us. So I think I will stop talking now and let the doers have the stage. It is my pleasure to introduce Britt Staley as the moderator of our panel conversation. Britt is truly at the nexus of our sustainability efforts and our commercial teams, helping make good on the second part of our strategy to help customers. There is a great exhortation from Gandhi to be the change. In order to be the change, you have to do something. I know that I'm preaching to the choir here, but as believers, I hope you will go back to your organizations and convince someone to do one more thing than you are doing now to promote sustainability. Even the most progressive organizations can do more. I know we can at MWV, so I hope you will help make that happen in your own organizations. Thank you, and here's Britt with some people who have done just that.
Thank you, Dirk, for providing some thoughts on MWV's commitment to leadership and partnership in sustainability within our own business and in partnership with our customers. To really bring to life what Dirk was just describing, we thought we'd bring a couple of our business leaders up here on this panel today to talk to you all about some concrete examples of our leadership in sustainability and our partnership with our customers and how we're leveraging sustainability to drive value in our business and for our customers and for the end consumers, which are really all of us. So with that, let's dive in. First on the panel, we have Jonathan McIver. He is the business director for MWV's Evotherm product line. He's been involved in the commercialization and market development of Evotherm since the product's release in 2004. Jonathan holds a bachelor's degree in chemical engineering with an emphasis in polymer science from Pennsylvania State University. He's been with MWV since 1997, working in a variety of sales, marketing, and management positions for the Asphalt Innovations team. He's actively involved with the National Asphalt Pavement Association, serving on several committees. And with Jonathan, we have Danny Moran. He is the Director of Sales and Logistics for Associated Asphalt, located in Roanoke, Virginia. Associated Asphalt is made up of 15 eastern liquid asphalt terminals from West Virginia to Florida. And so in his role, Danny is responsible for sales and marketing in many of these areas: Virginia, Tennessee, northern North Carolina, and western West Virginia. He's responsible for all rail and truck movements within the terminal network. He's been with Associated Asphalt since 1998, holding various positions, and he's active in many associations and alliances around the state of Virginia and beyond. So gentlemen, can you tell us a little bit more about Evotherm?
I'm going to start off today talking a little bit about Evotherm. Evotherm is an innovative, patented MWV specialty chemicals invention. Basically what it is we've taken the byproducts of paper making, in this case natural tree oils, and we've converted them into high-performance molecules that allow us to reduce the temperatures at which asphalt roads are paved. So typical conventional asphalt paving, temperatures often exceed 325 degrees. These additives allow us to reduce those temperatures to about 60 to 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So with that, we commonly see about a 30% reduction in fuel, as well as a 30% reduction in CO2 emissions, obviously, very high fuel consumption. In addition to those, we also see reductions in hazardous effluents as well, on much more significant order of magnitude, probably 50 to 75%. It's been a really interesting technology to work with over the last 9 years. We've gone a long way with it. Some of the first projects we did were actually here in Williamsburg. So it's nice to see it come full circle. Over that time period, Evotherm's grown significantly. We've had a tremendous support from all the resources at MWV, and it's really allowed us to bring a very unique, sustainable technology to road construction. So just to give you some idea of some of the higher visibility products, Virginia Capitol Trail, the bike trail was some of the first work we did with some sections around the trail. But it's grown a lot since then. So we've done the Golden Gate Park in San Francisco, for example, the northern rim of the Grand Canyon. Federal lands projects inside the Beltway have also been done with Evotherm. But more to conventional more typical applications, rural routes, urban roads, and interstates are now all utilizing the technology as well. So we thought it'd be a good opportunity to talk about it today. So when you think about sustainability, road construction is probably one of the first things you think about. So I thought as we have Danny here with us today, it'd be great to take a couple minutes and talk about, in our industry, what it is we do to be more sustainable and more energy efficient.
Yeah, and from our standpoint and what we do for the construction industry, the road building industry, as Brent and Jonathan had said, we supply the liquid that goes to the contractors that do the road paving. Now, what they do, and a lot of people aren't aware, is as a road needs to be resurfaced or has deficiency or wear and tear on that road is milled out, which is a large machine that will take away the current surface to make way for the new road to come in. And what people aren't aware of is 100% of all of that extracted RAP is what they call it, recycled asphalt pavement, is taken back to the plant and is able to be used 100% back in their, but based on their formulations and mix designs, they're able to use that 100% in the mix. So it goes back out on the rail, on the roadway when it's reintroduced. So it is used 100%. And some of the mix designs are even up to 30% of that mix going back out. 30% is reintroduced at the plant. I think that's one of the biggest things. Second is as an industry, our customers, contractors, have typically been heavy use fuel oils and black oils. They've made a commitment and conversion to natural gas resources to operate their plants. And then, as what Jonathan's talking about, the last part is the women's alternative to conventional styles of paving. Jonathan mentioned that 325 degrees is the typical temperature coming off of an asphalt mix, conventional. And to lower that possibly up to 100 degrees is a great, gives the contractors the ability in the fuel savings, no matter what fuel they're using for the plants. The second part is out in the field through emissions. Asphalt, by rule, the hotter it is, the more emissions that it will give off. And for the contractors and the people that are hands-on out in the field to lower the emissions and put them on a mat that they're paving at 250 degrees, in some cases 240 degrees or cooler, to put them on a mat that's not 300 plus degrees is a great thing and a great tool to use for these guys. And then again, the ability for them at the plant to have the savings to be able to drop temperatures, drop emissions and pollutants coming off their plants, and to realize the cost savings from that.
That's a good point. I'd also want to add to that, over the past few decades in the U.S., we've spent trillions of dollars on our infrastructure system. It's a competitive advantage. The networks that we have and how we bring goods to market are a national asset, and within any state, depending on how that state manages their infrastructure system, is also a tremendous asset and gives that state a competitive advantage as well. One of the important aspects of that is as that asset grows, as that network grows, it needs to be maintained. And so the more you can do to build that asset in a sustainable manner in the first place, it's going to make it much more cost effective to manage that asset over a long period of time. So these ideas of asset management, national pavement preservation really go hand in hand and can be very effective in driving a competitive advantage. So Dan, I want to switch a little bit here, talking about, from your company's point of view, why do you guys want to get involved in sustainable solutions for your customers?
Well, obviously, in what we do, and to get the competitive advantage in the markets and in our markets, through the innovation to offer it to our contractors. In the past, it's what we do is basically a niche business. I mean, it's not an asphalt terminal on every corner, but we do have competition throughout the markets, and to be able to provide something to our customers, the end user, the ones that are going to have the ability to find the true savings. It's a service, just like transporting and getting the product there on time. It's to have a product that, quite frankly, that they ask for, that they want. You guys have done a great job in showing them the data where the savings are, and they realize that. So it's more of a service to those folks that they can that we can offer out to them a product that will help them in the end, and in the end with their savings, be the difference of them obtaining a job and losing a job through bid.
Right, that's a good point. So when we talk about that value that the sustainable product can create, it's probably important to share that with everybody. Take a little bit of time to talk about what kind of value Evotherm has created for you or for your customers, and how that's really, how a sustainable product that's creating value to the driving choice.
Yeah, I mean, the value in it is for us is the value that it gives our customer, and again, it's asked for, it's requested, and when you've got a customer asking for something, obviously you're gonna supply it to them, and that I think that's the biggest payback for us. Is to be able to provide new, you guys have a family of products, additives, and this is one that, to your point, that we've been working with since '09. Really see the benefit the contractors do, and as they request it. So that's the big payback to us, is to be able to lock in the customer as they be able to provide.
That's a great point. And we've seen similar successes and impacts across the country, really around the world. Just last week we had a National Asphalt Paving Association, and they have an award for the best constructed road in the country. It's a 2-year process where they very closely look at how the road was built, how it's performing, smoothness matters, things like that. So the award, the Sheldon G. Hayes Award, was awarded to a company, APAC, which is a large contractor, national contractor, for a project on Interstate 44 in Joplin, Missouri, that also used Evotherm. So we're very fortunate that where we are with this technology, that we can say that the best built roads in the country are being built in a very sustainable manner. Thanks.
Great. Thank you all. So now you've heard a little bit about the sustainability benefits of some of our specialty chemicals business. The rest of our panel, I think, will focus primarily on our packaging business. So next to Danny, we have John Grinnell, who's the Vice President and Managing Director for MWV's Healthcare, Adherence, and Secondary Packaging Division. In his role, he's responsible for helping MWV expand the use of adherence packaging within the retail, branded, and generic pharmaceutical sectors worldwide. Before joining MWV in 2010, John spent 17 years with Cadmus Communications, most recently as Executive Vice President, Publisher Services Group. In that role, he worked with $250 million of medical, scientific, and publishing services. He has an undergraduate degree from the University of Virginia and holds an MBA from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. So John, can you tell us a little bit about adherence packaging? It may not be something that our audience is fully familiar with.
Sure, I'll tell you a little bit about a product we introduced in 2008 called ShellPack. We'll start with maybe a few definitions because it's harder than we've worked to make adherence packaging a household word. We're probably quite there yet. So I'll start with adherence. Medication adherence is an issue that MWV Healthcare has chosen to focus on from a strategy point of view. over the last 10 years. And adherence is the degree to which a patient takes their medications as prescribed. So if we're supposed to take a dose in the morning, a dose in the evening, do we do that accurately throughout the course of the month we're supposed to take that medication? And I think everybody's aware of the crisis this country faces with escalating healthcare costs, but few are aware of the impact of poor medication adherence by patients has on that problem. Just as a few examples, with any typical disease state, you look across the spectrum of health issues, whether it's a cancer patient who needs to take an oncology medication, a HIV patient, someone who's on blood pressure meds like many people are, or even a medication to prevent rejection of a transplanted organ. You typically are seeing adherence rates of 60 to 70%. If I'm supposed to take 30 pills in a month, if I'm an average patient, I'm maybe taking 18, 21 pills a month. And this has a significant consequences. This medication is intended to do something that's been proven effective if taken, but unfortunately not often taken. The cost of the U.S. economy, if you look at typical published figures, is somewhere between $150 and $300 billion a year. The impact in terms of health and wellness, statistics show that as many as 100,000 deaths a year in the U.S. occur because of poor medication adherence. As many as 28% of emergency room visits are driven by poor medication adherence. And when you look at, then you look at why does this happen? What are the causes? And they're fairly mundane. Typically, forgetfulness is commonly attributed as the single most common factor, and everyone lives busy lives. They don't always do a lot of things by habit, and sometimes those habits aren't as accurate as we think they are. People don't understand how to take the medication. The doctor, when it's prescribed, will explain, but often people don't retain that information. And if you're like most people, what happens is you go in the pharmacy, you get this, you get it in a bag, and you get it with a leaflet that comes along with it. It tells you all about that medication. You take it out of the bag, you throw away everything else, and this is what you're left with. Not a lot to tell you about what that medication is for, and many people are on many medications. Not a lot to tell you about what to do if you have a side effect, what might happen, when should I take it, without a meal, what time of day. All this type of information that's important to getting the benefit of that medication typically goes by the wayside for the average patient. So for MWV, we've really chosen to look at that problem and say, every time a patient takes that medication, they're interacting with the package. As a packaging company, what could we do to try to improve people's ability to be faithful to their prescribed regime? So ShellPack, which you see on the screen, was introduced in MWV in 2008 through Walmart as what we call an adherence package. And so as you would get a vial, typically what you got was a container. Didn't tell you a lot about, don't know how many pills are left, or give you any prompt to tell me whether I took my last one or I didn't, and it had a child-resistant closure. Keep our kids safe. What ShellPack did was it introduced child resistance through a rigid plastic outer. It contained medications in a blister that's calendarized, telling me days of the week, so I can tell, did I take my medication yesterday, today? Gives me a prompt both to remind and to give me a cue as if I've not taken my medication well, and it allows me to keep my instructions through labels on pack with that medication, so the patient can be educated and retain the information that the pharmacist and doctor gives to them. So since that was introduced in 2008, Walmart introduced it at the time they were introducing their $4 generic prescription program, which was really revolutionary in the health and pharmacy industry. It's part of their real platform around health and wellness. Since that time, they've dispensed tens of millions of scripts each year in ShellPack, and that's given us a great laboratory to look and say, has this really helped? Has it really contributed to a reduction in that problem of poor medication adherence? And there have been multiple peer-reviewed published studies on this topic. Those have shown typically that the impact across multiple medications has been something like the retention of a patient for close to an additional month on the medication. If you look at something like a blood pressure medication or cholesterol med, the typical prescribed patient has abandoned that medication after less than 200 days. They don't even make it a year on therapy. This is keeping them for at least an additional month. Typically, they're taking 20 more pills in a year or more than they otherwise would have if using the vial, and they're refilling their scripts a week earlier than they otherwise would have. Most people are, about 15 days between what should have been the expiration of their script and the commencement of the next one. So we know that it's had a significant impact, and we know that that type of impact has a real benefit in terms of health care costs as well as the wellness of the patient. So that's really what adherence packaging is and how MWV got into this business. The challenge we faced, though, was when we developed this product, the unique challenge of child resistance said we need something strong, we need something rigid to be able to comply with child-resistant rules. And that resulted in plastic, which really obviously wouldn't have been our first choice if we could do whatever we wanted. So that was a problem that we really tried to look at for the next generation of Sharp.
Well, can you tell me a little bit more about that next generation?
Sure. So working with Walmart, Walmart clearly is a leader in sustainability. They've made it a priority for their organization, and they've actually given us, as a vendor to Walmart, a really good roadmap to be able to look at where should we go next. How will you evaluate us through the Walmart Supplier Scorecard and sustainability? So when we were very pleased with the results we saw in terms of accomplishing our strategy with ShelfPak, but we wanted to markedly improve our measure on that scorecard, first of all. And second of all, take advantage of the opportunity to really replace our own product by building something that would also provide greater patient benefit and would be able to look to alternate materials and manufacturability. So the criteria we established in developing the next generation of ShelfPak were, first of all, it had to be recyclable, and we really wanted it to be paperboard-based instead of plastic-based. Secondly, we wanted to make it much more compact, reduce the size, which really had obviously benefit throughout the supply chain. This stuff is moving all over the world. We needed to continue to comply with the same child-resistant regulations, which means a kid can't tear it, they can't rip it open, they can't bite it and beat on it and get it open. It had to be very strong. And the final thing is, if we could eliminate separate components like labels and do this all in one set of materials, that'd be a preferable choice. So by looking at that scorecard and establishing those clear objectives for where we wanted to go, one of the benefits of being with an organization like MWV is we're integrated all the way back to the base material, and we have exhaustive R&D resources to be able to apply to a problem like this. So in addressing that problem, we went all the way back to material and innovated around development of a custom material that would apply robust tear resistance properties to a paperboard-based material, and had to develop then how could we develop converting technology that would be able to effectively die cut and fold and form a product of a much more rigid and different material than what a typical box manufacturer would be dealing with. And finally, how could we build a blister, the inner part to this, that could be retained with the strength required and could be much more compact, but not give up any capacity for the number of pills. That's what we're able to do with ShelfPak Renew. So ShelfPak Renew has been introduced in Walmart stores, and it is, as well as other retail pharmacy. ShelfPak Renew is the same package in terms of pill capacity, same package in terms of benefits to the patient, actually better benefits in many ways. But it is built from paperboard. It's curbside recyclable in the vast majority of communities. It has reduced the weight of the product by more than 50% versus the plastic. It's reduced its volume by more than 40%, and it's more than a 90% reduction in plastic. We're in the process today of replacing, moving, and will complete in the next several months the transition from the plastic-based product to the paper-based product. When you look at what that does for us from a carbon footprint point of view and a sustainability point of view, it's more than 8 million pounds of plastic that have been eliminated, and more than 1,000 metric tons of carbon dioxide emissions. And when we compare it back to what people are used to and don't get any adherence benefit to, we really have a very comparable sort of environmental footprint or sustainability footprint with this product. So we're really pleased with that result. I mean, it's truly one where you say set sustainability as an objective, and you find that you're able to not just achieve that objective, but end up with a better product, a cheaper product, and something that's able to really give you advantage in the marketplace. That's been our experience with this, and we've also seen that it's really been recognized in the industry. Walmart recognized MWV in 2013. Walmart's Health and Wellness Division recognized MWV as the best supplier for sustainability in their annual supplier awards. CPHI, which is the leading pharmaceutical supply trade conference in Europe recognized this package as best sustainable package in 2012. So it really has been a great experience for MWV in using sustainability as a lens through which we drive product development and try to achieve market advantage.
That's great. I know production has actually had a hard time of keeping up with Walmart's booming demand for this product. Can you talk a little bit about some of the investments that MWV's made to address those challenges?
Yeah, because of the change in material, obviously the base manufacturing process is tremendously different. Again, all the way going, MWV has invested well more than $5 million in really replacing our own products over the last couple of years to be prepared for this deployment and the growth that we've seen as a result. It's required that we develop process, so again, converting process, lamination process to produce the board, and filling processes in our contract packaging facility in which we actually package the medications. We've built entirely new packaging lines. We've invested in a new press in our converting facility to be able to support this demand. And we've also taken advantage of all those changes to really look at the infrastructure within those facilities, chillers, lighting, et cetera, to really try and optimize, reduce our energy costs as well as optimize our environmental footprint in those operations.
Great. Thank you. We talk a lot about win-wins in the sustainability world, and I think this is a really excellent example of a win-win for MWV, for our customer Walmart, and for their pharmacy patients, and for sustainability and for the environment. So thank you, John. Next up, we have Sue Davies. She is the Vice President for Strategy, Innovation, and Marketing for Midwestvaco's Home and Garden business. In her current role, Sue is responsible for the development and deployment of the global home and garden strategy, in addition to leading the marketing and innovation functions for that business as well. Sue serves on MWV's Sustainability Steering Committee and on the Women's Network. She joined MWV as the European HR Director in July 2002, and in 2005 she transferred with MWV to the US. She is a commerce graduate from Birmingham University in the UK, and she has previously worked for AstraZeneca and Marks & Spencer in the UK as well. So Sue, can you tell us a little bit more about your role at MWV?
Sure, I thought I'd start off a little bit about the home and garden business. For any of you who've ever cleaned your kitchen or bathroom, windows, maybe cars, you've probably unknowingly been using MWV products. The home and garden business is the leading supplier of trigger sprayers to the world. These little things that sit on the top of many of the cleaning products that you'll use. And we supply those to a whole range of CPG companies from North America, Europe, and Asia. In addition to that, we also supply aerosols. So again, anyone having used air effects from P&G, we manufacture and supply the actuators that sit on the top of those, and also a whole range of different dispensing closures. So the Clorox one would be an example there. So those are the kind of products that we're involved in manufacturing and supplying. And we do those across cleaning, that's our biggest category, but also a whole range of things in laundry and fabric, automotive, car care, air care categories, and also lawn and gardens. So a couple of the things that you're out, hopefully in a few months' time, spraying on your lawns and yards. We also supply those. The role that I play, working with my team, is really to make sure that we fully understand this industry and the different categories that we work in. We do that by comprehensively going out and looking at consumers' needs. So you as end users of these products, what is it that's important to you? Also spending a lot of time with our customers, the brand owners, understanding their needs. And then to the point that John was making, the retailers, that is an increasing influence on the kind of packaging that is being looked for. So we then take all of those inputs and really use that to build a comprehensive pipeline of innovation and new products that we can bring to the market to provide distinctive, hopefully, and differentiated packaging to our customers.
That's great. We've got a picture up on the screen of Versaplast trigger sprayer, which is one of the new ones. So if you can talk to us a little bit about that and the unmet needs maybe that addresses in the market.
Sure. So yes, Versaplast that you see up on the screen here, this is a lightweight, all-plastic trigger sprayer that MWV launched in the US market last summer. It was developed to address increasing demands that we're finding from, again, end consumers, brand owners, and retailers for more sustainable packaging. The core design of this particular product actually came from a business that we'd acquired in Italy back in 2009, a company called Spray Blast. So we took what was basically a European design and then have taken that and really adjusted that for the US market. So it's my life, taking things from Europe and bringing to the US. The key credentials for this from a sustainability perspective. Firstly, I would really say less raw materials. What we were looking for here was something which lightweighted the amount of resin that is used in that actual trigger sprayer at the top, which is the piece. We don't do copper, we just do this top white piece on this particular product. So you can see on the screen there. So this actually uses approximately 15 to 20% less resin. So a key credential compared with the prior trigger is being used. It is all plastic, so that is eliminating the metal from the trigger sprayer. And then for this one as well, the whole concept of local manufacture, so the fact that we are able to make this in the regions that it is then consumed in, obviously that's going to be key from a footprint perspective. And actually, the research that we did when we put this one together, the fact that we can supply this locally, that really significantly reduces, I mean, it would be 4 times the amount of carbon footprint just on transportation if we were to bring this into the US from Europe, and 8 times if we were going to do that from China. So again, a really great credential in terms of carbon footprint. And our first launch customer, which is what we're featuring here, unfortunately couldn't join us today, but the Sunshine Makers. So they are the suppliers of Simple Green, an eco-friendly line of cleaning products, and they were looking to restage their product line and really focusing again on improved sustainability and also really trying to leverage their brand equity as an eco-friendly cleaning product. So as we started to work with them on this, and they had been using a previous MWV trigger sprayer, so this was a conversion that we worked on with them. But the lightweighting that I mentioned earlier, and all plastic construction, within the first year, we will take out 19 tons of the resin and 10 tons of steel from their manufacturing processes. So again, a key sustainability achievement there. They were very keen again on the local supply chain. That was something they claim is made in America, and they're very keen to have that local supply chain. And then this was something that we probably going into this hadn't necessarily sort of factored into the equation, but actually found that it really improved their performance in terms of operational waste and also higher line speeds. So some additional benefits that came from the customer as a result of that. And then all of that we did continue to do with the end consumer in mind. So if you're using this product, part of what we also do is really to look at the ergonomics. So how to make sure that this is actually something that is comfortable to use. It also actually provides more spray as you're actually taking one actuation of this trigger sprayer. And it also has a foam feature, so people have a variety of different things that they can use with that. But I think overall, certainly our experience in bringing this product to market is that that sustainability piece, the credentials, the ability to really reduce and say lightweight, take the resins, take the raw materials out, and provide a local supply chain has been critical in terms of this reaching and helping new products and really providing a new look for these cleaning products.
That's great. Thank you. Well, and we heard from John a little bit about how Walmart is particularly interested in sustainability, and you all, I'm sure, are aware of that. And so that's another added benefit for our customers like Simple Green, who display their products through the channel, the retail channel at Walmart. If they can articulate this saving story to their customer, Walmart, that's a benefit for them as well. So as you all can see by the range of product case studies that are represented up here today, providing sustainable packaging solutions that address customer and consumer needs is really critical to our mission at MWV, as you heard from Dirk earlier. Finally, on our panel, we have Ken Krause, who is the Director of Global Product Stewardship and Sustainability at MWV. In this role, he is responsible for leading business processes to manage risks and drive business value through stakeholder confidence in the sustainability of MWV's products and services. Ken's scope includes global regulatory customer compliance, mitigation of product risk, and enabling the development, execution, and communication of MWV's sustainability programs and outcomes. Ken's background includes more than 30 years of experience leading packaging development, innovation, and sustainability functions at several market-leading global consumer goods companies, including Javi Global Solutions, Kraft Food, the Smucker Company, and Procter & Gamble. He has a Bachelor of Science in Chemical Engineering from Purdue University and an MBA from Xavier. And he, as well, is a member of many committees and associations, which I will not list for you all here. Ken, can you describe for us the role of the Product Stewardship and Sustainability Group at MWV and how we partner with MWV business leaders, such as these represented here, to drive business value?
Sure, thanks, Britt. At a very high level, I think the easiest way to describe the role of the group is that we create the bridge between the technical, scientific, and regulatory view of sustainability that you hear from many government agencies and scientific communities and scientists and engineers. The bridge from that language and that view to a place where we can work with our business leaders to apply sustainability to our business propositions and generate value for our customers and for the other stakeholders that are keeping track of us. So as a couple of examples of that, you mentioned earlier, John, that curbside recyclability was an aspect of the shell pack root product that was important. Where we got involved in supporting John's team in cases like that was to come to the conclusion that curbside recycling would be an important value driver for our business proposition, and then to start saying what would have to be true about the package design in order to allow us to make that claim and back it up with all the right support. So we would get into working on the regulatory and the industry standards for curbside recycling, be able to compare those to the designs, make some adjustments to the designs if necessary, and ultimately get to the point where we could assure John's team that a claim of curbside recyclability in the markets that we were interested in would be valid and could be supported, and that we could go ahead and make that claim. In Sue's case, you heard her mention, for example, that the trigger sprayers that we're working with are lighter than previous generations and contain no metal. Well, the question would be, how do we view a design with no metal? Does that help us make a claim and improve the sustainability of either our offering or our customers' view of the products that they're buying from us? So in each of those cases, the challenge that we face is to support the business areas with the technical know-how, the scorekeeping, the perspective, the evaluation of pluses and minuses that go with particular value propositions and differentiators that can go into their proposals to the marketplace.
That's great. And so how do we help understand some of what the customer needs are? What kinds of issues are coming up for us in that area?
It's a really challenging, but also creates a lot of great opportunities for us. As you listen to the four speakers that you've heard so far, each of them was talking about how sustainability has added value to their products and their customers' sustainability platforms. But every one of them was a little bit different in terms of the specifics of what mattered in those marketplace areas. So the challenge that we have as a packaging and forest products company that supplies a really diverse group of customers is to be able to meet each and every one of those where they are in terms of their sustainability strategies and the offerings that would be important in their marketplace. Britt has put a slide up on the screen at this point that's a really quick illustration that shows that sustainability has a lot of dimensions. Different people have different views of which one is the most important at any given point in time. In some cases it can be carbon footprint, in some cases it can be water, in some cases it can be the renewable nature of the raw materials, in other cases it can be an end-of-life situation. And so we work with our businesses and we work with our customers to try to identify specifically in each of those areas which are the sustainability factors that would be the most important to them in terms of improving their platform and going forward. What we then have to provide is a very broad range of expertise, a broad range of ideas and potential strategies that could apply widely across our organization. But in each case needs to be narrowed down to the one that really resonates in a specific value proposition for a customer in a marketplace in a geographic zone.
Yeah.
So what we tend to maintain is sort of a two-level view of how MWV can position its sustainability platform and our value proposition. One of them is the customer-by-customer, market-by-market approach, where we get very specific and we talk about things like, how does the Walmart scorecard get used when we take an offering to Walmart in a case like that. But then there's the other level where we have corporate level value propositions that apply across the board. Those get a little bit more into how we operate our facilities, how we manage our supply chain, how we derive our own raw materials to come into the value chain that we provide. And so we can talk at a corporate level about our carbon and energy and waste and water management. But in many cases, the customers listen to that and nod their heads and eventually say, that's great, but how does it apply to the specific product that I'm buying from you? So both levels tend to be important and they can go back and forth depending on the individual situation.
Right, yeah. Well, Sue, I know we want to come back to you for a second just because I know that social responsibility within the supply chain is a really critical element for some of your customers. As like Ken was just describing, this is one of our MWV programmatic elements of our sustainability story and strategy, but I know it's particularly relevant for your customers. Do you want to walk us through a little bit about what that program's about?
Sure, great question, Britt, and I think this really is one of those sort of overriding MWV approaches, which is of huge importance to all of our customers. MWV has a really well-established program in terms of our sourcing strategies, and that really has two main underpinnings. One is what we call the MWV principles of conduct, and then the second aspect is a supplier approval process. So I'll just briefly comment on each of those. Principles of conduct, that's really the equivalent for our suppliers of the code of conduct. We have that for all of our employees worldwide to affirm on a regular basis. And the same kind of approaches really underpin the principles of conduct. And it's really focused very much on the social aspect of the triple bottom line. So that's requiring that our suppliers, the suppliers we work with, fully comply with the applicable laws, regulations, legal requirements in the particular areas that they operate. It also covers things like how they treat their employees, so fair compensation, rights of freedom of association, and a safe and healthy working environment for their employees. And then finally making sure that the suppliers provide safe and high quality products at environmentally compliant and sustainable operations and facilities. So that's the kind of set of principles that we have. And then as we get in with a particular supplier to start working on the sourcing and contracting process, they agree to those principles, but then at the same time, our sourcing teams start to work on the second aspect, which is the supplier approval process. And that is really a risk-based approval. So start off and the sourcing managers will really evaluate against a whole raft of different risk areas, but things like, again, product quality and product safety. And then if any supplier is deemed a high risk based on that assessment, then they will go in and do an actual on-site audit to identify and resolve any of those potential issues. And then ongoing, we look to really make sure that we are monitoring that, and if any violations are picked up at any point during the supply agreement, then that is something that we will step in and take the appropriate action in terms of that. Again, I think an important set of principles and approval processes that certainly our customers highly value in terms of the way that they do business.
Absolutely. It's really important for our customers to be able to rely on MWV in that way and to ensure that there aren't elements introduced into their supply chains that could cause risk for them, reputational or worse, ending up on the front page of the New York Times, for instance. So we think that that is a really important responsibility for our company in the way we do business. Similarly, on the fiber side of our business, responsible stewardship of forestry resources is a critical element of responsible sourcing for our paperboard customers. So, Ken, can you tell us a little bit about what MWV does in this area?
Sure. The forestry area and responsible forestry is something that Midwest Maple has been doing for a tremendously long time. We view ourselves, I think, as a leader in sustainability in some ways for a lot longer period than just the last few decades when sustainability has really come to the forefront in a big way. We've always valued the forest lands that we get our fiber from as a source of our lifeblood. And we've recognized for decades that the best way to preserve our ability to add value to our customers and to society as a whole is to protect those forest lands and make sure that we are always doing our part to see that the industry and society is deriving the maximum amount of value that we can get from those lands. So we recognize that in addition to being a source of fiber for us and our customers, that forest lands also play a major role in keeping the water and the air clean. We recognize that the forest lands become a part of the wildlife and habitat and that provides a lot of other benefits to indigenous people who live in many areas of the world where fiber comes from, and last, that it provides a recreation opportunity for people who use it for many purposes as well. So our commitment to the maximum value of forestry is not just the fact that a renewable source of fiber is what we see it as a way of providing a lot of other benefits that society values as well. Now, some of the things that we do in order to ensure that the forests are maintained in that way is to ensure that the sources of fiber that we use consistently rely on a strong program of certifications that come from internationally recognized third-party sources. In some cases, those certifications apply to the forest lands themselves. They have to do with how the land is managed and how all of the various aspects of value are protected. In other cases, we also generate what are referred to as a chain of custody certification. And those, in addition to the land itself, provide assurance to us and to all of the stakeholders who pay attention that all of these sources of fiber that we're relying on are coming from easily traceable sources, and that we can trace all the way back to the source to make sure that there are no sources of illegal logging or illegal practices in any parts of the world that we get our fiber. So maintaining the third-party certification is important because it gives us and the customers the validation that we're using the best available practices for maintaining the value. And it also keeps us current as those practices change over time and get better as people get better ideas on how to maintain the high standards that we see. One last aspect I'll mention too is that we maintain a lot of relationships with leading conservation organizations around the world. Nature Conservancy, there are more examples than I could probably cite in a short time period, but our involvement there we think serves a couple of purposes. One is to make sure that we continue to try to have access to the greatest amount of current thinking and expertise and evolving solutions to the issues that come up, not just from ourselves, but from a lot of other people who have different perspectives and can bring other resources to bear. We also prefer as an organization to stay involved in advocacy groups through those groups because it gives us an opportunity to make sure that we have a voice at the table in cases where some of the more controversial aspects come up. So the combination of our own stewardship, the certifications that we use for outside use, and the partnership with the other conservation groups, I think gives us a really strong platform to maintain the value of forestry and to provide for us in society.
That's great. You mentioned a couple of times other sources of value from the forestry aside from the fiber that we obviously use for our products. Can you talk a little bit about how we might account for those additional elements of value?
That's a great question. Those of you who are following trends and current thinking may be aware that the number of times that you see phrases like natural capital and materiality are becoming more and more commonly used and discussed in sustainability jargon, so to speak. This is a trend that is being driven in many cases by folks in the investment community and in the accounting part of sustainability. And the idea here at a very high level is to say that we should be able to find ways to assign a more tangible value to many of the aspects of raw materials and the use of nature's abundant resources as we factor the accounting principles that we use to decide what is it really costing us and what benefits are we really providing. So we're beginning to pay a lot more attention and participate in the development of the thinking around natural capital and how people might eventually evolve into a situation where valuing the forest for all of the different aspects that we value it for can be turned into some sort of a quantitative measure that at some point in the future may be combined with our annual report from a financial accounting standpoint and develop what would be called an integrated report. So that's probably still a ways away from being common practice, although there are many companies who are beginning to report in that integrated fashion. And it's providing a lot of opportunities for people to think about the value of the raw materials, the value of the way we process them and manage them. We're excited about it because we think, as I said earlier, that many aspects of the way we manage the forests will lead to what would be viewed as some positive value rather than those who view natural capital as a way to keep track of the negative things that we're doing. But however that works out in the final analysis, it's something that we want to be very aware of and make sure that we're applying it to our own organization in a consistent and logical manner.
That sounds like a really important trend, and it also sounds like it requires a lot of heavy-duty data management and scorekeeping, which I think you mentioned earlier as a function of your team. Can you talk a little bit about what trends you're seeing on that side?
Sure. As a way to set up the trends, one of the other things that I'll mention too is that probably one of the biggest areas of information that we derive our sources from are the constant and ever-increasing stream of requests for information that come either from our customers or from industry associations and semi-government bodies. We keep track on a regular basis of the number of questionnaires that we answer each year with the support of our business partners, but we also analyze the nature of the questions that come in so that we can provide our business with a sense of how many people are asking us about water, and how many people are asking us about recyclability, and how many people are asking us about chain of custody in our forests and so forth. As a result of that, we provide our businesses with an analysis every so often of what we see as the leading trends and the big issues that are happening. Materiality and natural capital is one. We're also following very closely an area that's known as extended producer responsibility, which is a philosophy that is more well applied in Europe than it is in North America right now, but basically would involve a shift in the way we manage the cost of end-of-life and recovery and recycling of products and packaged materials. The belief is, from those who advocate from this point of view, that those who generate the waste ought to be responsible for paying for it, and that would be a different system from what we have today, and really the responsibility for paying for it is your municipal taxes as you pay for the local trash dollars to be able to manage it in a situation like that. So extended producer responsibility is a trend we're following closely. We're also watching a trend in chemical safety and really down into the raw materials of ingredients. And the biggest thing that we see there right now is that although there is still some activity at the government level, both federal and state, there seems to be more of a trend for private businesses to be getting more into the area where companies like Walmart and Target are starting to move towards individually creating lists of priority chemicals that they would like to learn more about, with potentially the eventual desire to see their customers and their suppliers eliminate the use of things that they've decided may be too hazardous for the users that are in. So it becomes harder and harder for us as an industry as well as an individual organization to keep track of what everyone says is safe and what everyone says is allowable when we go in the direction of non-standard and every individual for themselves types of things. So that's another one I think that's a top of our list for interest right now. I could talk for hours. You know.
Well, it's interesting, this green chemistry point that Ken is making is something that comes up, as he said, more and more with our customers. And Dirk mentioned earlier the partnership with Carlsberg to assess the packaging that we provide to them in the interest of getting it cradle to cradle certified. And one of the first steps for that initiative is to do a full material health assessment of the products that we provide. So understanding at a very detailed level what is the chemical composition of our products, and to make sure that it's not containing any kinds of bad actors, so to say, or making sure that it's optimized, as Dirk mentioned, for either recycling or upcycling or composting at the end of life. So I think that is a really important trend that we're seeing coming down the pipe. I hope that these insights have provided you all with some indication of how MWV drives business value through leadership and through partnership in sustainability. I want to take this time to thank our speakers for being with us here this morning to help kick off the conference with all of these case studies about how we bring sustainability to life within our business. So please join me in thanking Dirk, who was here earlier, Jonathan, Danny, Sean, Sue, Ken,